Welcome to Buckets. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and this is your weekend recap. We're going to go over where the various series are in the NBA playoffs. We'll give you some featured lines, leans, where the series is going, all these types of things. We'll look not ahead to the second round yet. We will probably have opportunities for those as we go along. We'll try and get into some props plays from Brandon as well. Speaking of which, join me today, Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst at Wheaton Brando on Twitter, and Albert Wynn, the analytics capper. You can find him on Twitter at analytics capper. All right, let's start here, guys. I want to start we're recording this on Monday morning. So we won't know the outcomes of Heat Bucks. We won't know the outcomes of Grizzlies Lakers. We're going to save those for a little bit. I want to start with a Tuesday slate and kind of look at those. The Hawks and the Celtics. So we're going to go through this one really quickly. Brandon nailed this with he had a best bet on basically the Celtics to make quick work of the Hawks. There wasn't any reason to, I wasn't usually when Brandon is this team sucks and this team's good, let's just make it easy. I was not able to get there. I was yeah, no, this team sucks and this team's good. This is pretty simple. Honestly, Brandon, I'm pretty annoyed that the Celtics even gave them game 3. If there's anything here, it's that I'm a little the Celtics defense. I've talked about this with Denver a lot. The Celtics defensive floor is significantly worse than it was last year. Last year, it was when the Celtics don't play great defense, still pretty great defense. And this year, when the Celtics don't play great defense, it's not good defense. That has me a little bit long-term concerned, even if this series is going to probably be wrapped up on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think that's a fair concern. And I had a concern coming into game 4. As I looked at the numbers, I was neither of the Jays is really playing that well right now. And we know about Jaylen Brown has base hand that he's still working through. Then both guys had 31. Both guys were great. So I think it's a concern to remember, but also a really good thing if you can just be dominating Atlanta without either of your two stars even really playing great. I'm not saying they're playing poorly, but we haven't seen them play the way they'll need to for Boston to win the title. My takeaway on Boston in that series, I think it's a wrap. We talked on our Tuesday picks episode about Boston running away with it. 1-2-3 Cancun for Atlanta. There's a key spot here between Monday night's games and Tuesday's Boston game. That's your chance to bet Boston futures. Here's why. Monday night, I think we'll get to it, but I think the Bucks win with Giannis back. Suddenly the Bucks pull back to 2-2. That makes Milwaukee look a lot better than they do right at this moment. That makes Milwaukee's futures a little shorter on their odds. That has to make Boston's a little longer. That matters. We don't have Joel Embiid news yet. We're not going to get it on Tuesday. We're probably going to get, I would guess, more negative than positive news on Embiid before the end of the week. And Tuesday afternoon before the Tuesday game, Boston has not clinched its round yet. The books have to price in the possibility that they might still lose a game or stretch the series out. It's a tiny little sweet spot if you want to get your Boston future in between Monday night's results, assuming that the Bucks win before the Celtics tip. Albert, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to look at this game a little, or this series more microscopically. I agree with you. I think it's a great future spot for Boston after the Bucks win. That's a good call for sure. You're not going to get that much more value, right? I think the Celtics right now are minus 10,000 on the series. I think if they were to lose game 5, I don't know how much that's going to move it, but or before game 5. But if you guys watched game 4 on the TNT broadcasts, Kenny the Jet Smith had a really nice, very simple but very smart analysis during halftime. But basically, he was like, "Who are the best players on the Celtics? Who are the best players? The top 2 players on the Hawks." Obviously, in Boston, you have the 2 Jays, and he had a nice video recap of 3 or 4 plays where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are literally just standing on the corner because their team is so good, so deep, that their 2 best players can rest in the middle of a game. So you have Derek White, isolating on top, hitting a 3 over your best defender on the Hawks. You have Malcolm Brogdon taking a drive inside and finishing over your center in Clint Capella. So you have all these guys with Boston that can really, be the number 2, number 3, number 4 option on other teams. But because this team is so deep and so talented, these guys allow their best 2 players to take a breather. So that's my long-winded way of saying, like, I like Boston's chances moving forward. There's so many unknowns with the top teams in the East. Giannis's back injury, that's going to be lingering most likely, right? Back injuries just don't get better overnight. And then Joel Embiid is a potential to get injured or further injured basically every single game. So obviously you can't handicap injuries, but I think Boston's outlook moving forward and getting to a second straight NBA Finals is pretty good.
With you 100%. This is the best team in the league. This is the best team in the NBA. The Celtics are the best team in the NBA. We've been on that consistently while the Bucks were taking over the 1 seed and everyone was really kind of raving about them. And, Brandon, I'm annoyed at injuries in general. It just sucks. It just sucks for us as basketball fans, but I'm also annoyed that like I don't get to be like if we had done a pod on the 1/8, I would have been with you on my series pick was Miami plus 2.5, plus 2.5 games, plus 1.5 games. I thought this was going 7 no matter what, because that's what the Heat do. And I don't get to take any credit for it because Giannis got hurt. I think but one of the reasons I think that is I can think all I want about Miami, and if the Bucks were so much better, I wouldn't care, but they're not. And that matters as we go forward here. So that was great analysis, I thought, by both of you. Brandon, I love the piece about when this window is for the East futures. So make sure to look at, if you want to bet the Celtics, your window is about to be absolutely right now, assuming, as we record this on Monday, as we jinx the ever-loving shit out of this, that the Bucks win on Monday night. Let's go to my least favorite series, maybe in the history of man. Maybe in creation, maybe in the span of all sport. Knicks Cavaliers. The Knicks are now up 3-1. I can't remember the last time I was this wrong about a series. Brandon was right in every single aspect. Brandon came in with his 4 factors and was like offensive rebounding and depth, and these 2 teams are not that far apart, and you want the Knicks. And I was like, that's bullshit and dumb. The Cavs are way better. They should win this series. Their starters are way better. And then JB Bickerstaff coached what I think is the worst coach series I may have ever seen. Just everything. Just rotations, pick and roll adjustments, timeouts, everything. You know how low the bar is for you to get outcoached by Tom Thibodeau in a playoff series? Do you know how bad you have to be? Congratulations to JB Bickerstaff on that amazing accomplishment. There's a couple of things that I overlooked that I was wrong on, Brandon. I can't just blame JB. I will mostly, but I will also say Josh Hart was a factor I did not factor enough in. I should have really looked at it and been like, oh yeah, Josh Hart plays now. Josh Hart's an offensive rebounding monster. That's absolutely a factor. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, this is their first playoff series. It's their first playoff series for Chetty Osman, who apparently needs to play 25 minutes a game. It's the first playoff series for a lot of guys on the Cavs, and that's a real problem. It was evident in game 1. It was evident in game 3. They looked shook. And honestly, for half of game 4, Darius Garland got going in the second half. The end of that game came down to Donovan Mitchell really kind of falling apart and some rotation stuff. But Josh Hart, all those type of things mattered. I don't think there's any value to be extracted from the series. I'm just going to tell you, whoever comes out of the other series, I'm betting them versus the Knicks. Call me a hater, that's fine. I don't think the Knicks are bad. I've said the Knicks are good this year. They were at one point, they were a top 5 defense or a top 5 team in both offense and defense. There was a little small sliver of season where they were both. Now their defense is completely fallen off, but their offense is really good. The Knicks are a good team. They're not a conference finalist, so I'm going to be betting against them. Brandon, I want the series to die. I don't ever want to see Karis LeVert or Chetty Osman on my screen ever again. I think that the Cavs probably need to rethink a lot of things. What's your read on the series, and is there any value you can kind of extract from this series still?
Yeah, I'm a little upset. My Isaac Okoro jersey didn't get here in the mail yet, so I couldn't rock it for the podcast today. Yeah, to me, I think actually your takeaway from the series, I think you nailed. And it's the same takeaway that I have. This is not about the Knicks. This is about the Cavs.
Yep.
Do not do not watch this series and be like, oh man, here we go. Knicks to win the East. Everything's opening up. Milwaukee is injured and Philly is injured. This is not about the Knicks. I think we were right about the Knicks. I think all the things we said about them struggling offensively, all the stuff has been right. They have not scored very well in this series. They just get more chances because right now for the series, they've offensive rebounded over a third of their missed shots. And oh boy, they miss a lot of shots. So that's a lot of offensive rebounds that they're getting. They're winning the turnovers and the free throws. Cavs aren't scoring efficiently, and that's not making up the difference. So to me, I think that this series is actually a little more live than it seems because it's 3-1, but we're going back to Cleveland. Cleveland has 2 out of the 3 home games remaining that they need. Obviously, they got to win all 3 of them here. Isn't it very easy, guys, to see a scenario where the Cavs get a game 5 at home? These games mostly have been competitive late. So I think assuming the home team wins is a good spot to like the home team here. Suddenly it's game 6. Suddenly, the Knicks are up like 9. The second unit is looking great. It's heading into 10 minutes left in the game. It's a 7-point game. It's a 6-point game. It's a 4-point game. And suddenly looming, like hanging over Madison Square Garden and all the fans is, our guys can't score and it's getting closer. And we're staring a road game 7 in the face where we can't score on the road. We're going to score like 70 in a road game 7. Like, I feel like the pressure of we've already celebrated, this thing was won. I think that's a real thing that could come. And in the third quarter of the game we just watched Sunday, the Cavs made an important adjustment. I don't know where JB was the first, how many is that? 12, 14 quarters of the series. But finally, he was like, hey, what if we use Jared Allen on screens? What if we use Mitchell Robinson's guy on screens? What would that look like? It looked like a nightmare for the Knicks because Mitchell Robinson was in hell and had no idea what to do. He couldn't drop because Garland was shooting over him every time. He couldn't get out there in time because they'd throw the lob. And using Allen instead of Mobley on those screens, I think found some answers. We're coming home. I think the Cavs are live. I don't know that there's really, like, they're not live enough that I'm not telling you bet the Cavs. The numbers for me slightly give value on the Cavs, but not enough for me to like it here. But I think there's going to be spots in game. I'll probably like the Cavs game 5. And I think there's going to be a chance to still fade in New York in some ways. Matt, you're not going to do it because you're done with this series. But Albert, what do you think about Knicks Cavs so far?
Guys, I'm just going to be completely transparent here. Sunday afternoon, I already bet Cavs in 7. I think it's a great spot for Cleveland. I think it's actually a very simple analysis. We just went through 10 minutes on why they're down 3-1. This is a very similar story to the Knicks 2 years ago when their all NBA performer doesn't perform. And at that time was Julius Randle. You're just not going to be able to compete. When they're all NBA first team performer for the Cavs this season, which is most likely going to be Donovan Mitchell. We all expect him to be first or second team guard this year, which is amazing. Had 38, 8, and 5 in game 1 in a losing effort. They only lost by 4. Since then, he's had 17, 22, and 11. In his 2 games at Madison Square Garden, 12 turnovers. He only made 2 of 12 3-pointers. And in my opinion, watching the games, it's not like he's being defended that much differently. He's just missing a ton of shots, especially early in that fourth quarter when they were making that comeback. He had 3 shots that were in and out, literally in the hole, bounced out. So I think there's great value here on the Knicks to close it out in 5 or the Cavs to win in 7. So I like the Cavs. I still think they're the better team. Hopefully JB's going to make some adjustments. No guarantees there. I know Matt with his facial expressions, but I think the Cavs are going to come out and dominate game 5. Brandon, you mentioned that these games are close. They actually haven't been. Game 1 was close. It was a 4-point game. Games 2 and 3 were 20-point blowouts. And then 3 ended up being a 9-point spread, but it was actually not that close. It was like a 6-minute run in the third quarter for Darius Garland. So I think these games are going to be blowouts. And I think if the Cavs take care of business in game 5, all the pressure will be on the Knicks, will be on Julius Randle to win his first playoff series as a Knick. And I don't think he's going to be able to get it done.
I hate you guys. I hate the two of you so much. Like Brandon got done, and I was gonna drop a "not today, Satan," but now AC's on it too. You want? Here's the cherry on top. Since 2003, 4 seeds at home in Game 5, down 3-1. So 4 seeds at home, down 3-1.
80%.
7-2 straight up. 7-2 against the spread. 78%. So here's the problem. I bet Cavs game 1, bet Cavs game 2, win. Bet Cavs game 3, I said it on the pod. I was like, if they lose game 3, I'm coming back on them in game 4. I did it. Do I keep throwing money down this hole? Because I really don't want to. I will probably do it. I'll probably just do it.
I want to ask about unders in this series. The easiest money you could have made for the last 10 days was just betting your life savings on every under in Knicks Cavs. Here are the totals so far, the actual totals, not the betting lines. 198 in game 1, 197, 178, 195. We have not hit a 200 in the series. We're averaging 192. I believe game 1 closed at 216.5. We are down to 203, and it still doesn't feel low enough to me. Like the models almost have to go out the window. Heavens, if we get to a game 7, and we all know about unders in game 7s, like what is the line that you set? How low of a line does it have to be for game 7 for you to even think about taking the over on a Knicks Cavs game 7, the way these teams are not scoring? I just want to know, like the models clearly are going to tell you to bet an over here. Everything that the model says, like Matt, I think your model said over even earlier in the series before, before the line started moving down. Do we just keep riding the under cash cow here? Albert, do you play a lot of totals? Do you like the unders here?
I'm not a big total better, but if there's one game in the series that would go over, I would say it's game 5, just because I think all those uncontested threes that the Cavs have been missing, I think they'll make it all potentially in this one game here. Game 6 and 7 is going to fall more in line with the rest of the series. If necessary. Sorry, game 6 if necessary, game 7 if necessary.
202.5 is the total for this.
It's ugly. It's ugly, guys. It is very 90s basketball.
I hate it. I hate the series. Well, here's what's funny is like the Cavs doing an awesome job defensively. They're doing awesome. The Knicks have the worst half-court offense in the NBA playoffs. The worst half-court offense in the NBA playoffs, and the Cavs have let them go up 3-1.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, if you don't follow me on Twitter and you're wondering about the Okoro thing, I'll just do like a 30-second version of this.
Here we go.
I'll do a 30-second version of this. I would never believed in Isaac Okoro. Never believed in him. Did some bet streams late in the season, was actually like, hey, Okoro's like actually kind of shooting pretty well. So I started looking at the numbers like, hey, since All-Star, he's shooting pretty great. He closed the season post All-Star shooting 43% from 3, and the Cavs with him on the floor were awesome. That starting unit went from to like, okay, like Okoro works. And JB Bickerstaff fucking panicked. Like the minute that the Knicks leave Isaac Okoro open, literally yesterday he missed 2 open threes, and JB's like, gotta get him out of there. Chetty Osman misses like 5 in a row. Well, he spaces the floor. What the fuck are you doing? Isaac Okoro, the rebounding numbers skyrocket for the Cavs when Isaac Okoro is on the floor. The worst figure for the Cavs in this series, and they're giving up a lot of offensive rebounds overall because Evan Mobley won't put his fucking body into somebody, but the numbers are worst when Isaac Okoro is off the floor. Do you know why? Josh Hart. Put the athletic guy on the floor. If they make him make corner threes, let him shoot the corner threes. If he makes them, great. If he misses them, guess what? The Knicks aren't scoring either as long as you rebound. The Cavs can win this series with defense. The Knicks are winning this series with defense right now. How do you fuck this up this badly? Stop playing Chetty Osman. Play Isaac Okoro. Anyway.
You know who would fix defensive rebounding and 3-point shooting right now for the Cavs?
Kevin Love? Is it Kevin Love?
Kevin Love. Kevin Love.
By the way, just to put a cherry on top on the unders thing, if you feel like you have a read on who's going to win a game in this series, and maybe we only have one game left here, but if you think who's going to win, I think maybe an angle you do is just bet the losing team's team total under. Right now, like for game 5, that's Knicks is 98.5. The losing score average in this series so far is 89.8. Teams are not winning because they scored. They're losing because the other team was even worse at not scoring that day. So I think, especially if you're the team that's ahead, like you said, AC, I misspoke. These games haven't been close. I think winnable more so just because it feels open. But yeah, the team that's ahead is going to get some free throws and some easy stuff as the other team is pushing. But I think if you just play the team total under of who you expect to lose, you can kind of take advantage because, like, look, Knicks 98.5 team total under. The Knicks could win the game and still go under. Like, that's why I like this, because you're buying yourself extra outs here when the scoring is this low, where maybe they're just terrible and can't score, or maybe they still win even in an ugly game. And especially as we get to a game 6 or game 7, if we do, then that's even more in play there.
Let's go to Milwaukee, Miami. We're recording this on Monday afternoon, so everything will be delayed. This podcast should be up, but you'll have to like kind of, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, we're projecting forward. Giannis is going to play in game 4. Yes, in game 4. Jimmy Butler's questionable. I kind of don't think he plays. We'll see. The series spread on this series is hilarious. At FanDuel Sportsbook, the series spread is Bucks minus 1.5 for them to win in 6, essentially, because that's all they can do is for them to win in 6 is plus 154. That's the baseline, is minus 1.5. Bucks in 6 plus 154. Miami plus 1.5. So for them to win one more game is minus 192. Really just like all over the place. The total score on this, Heat are plus 210 to win a series that they're up 2-1 in. The Bucks are minus 255. The Heat have now lost Tyler Hero for the duration of the series with a fractured hand. Victor Oladipo, which is a really sad story with a torn patellar. Vic just can't catch a break. Also, Jimmy's now banged up as well. Brandon, is there an angle here? Help me find an angle here on Heat Bucks. I don't know what the hell to do with the series.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you some numbers quickly because I tried to I ran my model through the numbers to say, okay, where is it? Like, is it Bucks in 6, Heat in 5, plus 1.5, all the numbers you just said. The one spot where I think that there could be slight value is, just by my numbers, is Bucks to win game 4, Heat to win the series. I don't think that's going to happen, but by my numbers, that one, it was at plus 700, which gives it slight value to where I would put it at. Really, there's just not a lot of value here. Bucks in 6, I have at 29% chance. Bucks about 65% to win the series, so basically a minus 200. Heat in 5, so Heat just to close this out and win out, I have at 10%. I don't think that's going to happen. Heat overall 35%. Heat in 7 is 9%. The numbers that I came up with, and I always do this before I look at the odds posted, they basically are pretty close to mirroring what the odds posted are. So there's not a big edge in any direction. The one that I like, and it's a little worse now because the Giannis news came out since I made this note last night, but I think just Bucks to win game 4 and the series. I think just keep it easy. I think Milwaukee goes out, Giannis plays, they look good. Giannis, like, not to overstate the obvious, Giannis is the difference in the series. Without Giannis, you have just shooting variance. And we have two teams taking a ton of threes, and we have shooting variance. Giannis changes everything because he raises the floor of the Bucks and moves them multiple tiers back up above the Heat. And I think they win game 4 probably convincingly, especially if Butler is out. They could not set the line high enough if he's out and Giannis is in there. And I think if they win game 4 convincingly, then the odds here swing way back to the other side. I'm like, okay, yeah. So that was fun. We all had fun. Miami won a game without Giannis. Really 2 games without Giannis because he only played 11 the first game. But we all know how this is going to go. And I think the line moves quickly. Bucks game 4 in series was minus 105 before the Giannis news. I see it at minus 135 now. I think that's probably still the right play. I have Milwaukee at about 83% to win the series, assuming they win game 4. That's not factoring injuries and that sort of thing. But so if you like the Bucks at more than 62% on the money line, then that means it's a good angle. So that would be my best. The only thing I'd add is this. You can't play Bucks futures right now. You can't. Because if I'm right that the Bucks are 65% to win this round, that's pretty good. That's twice as likely as Miami. That means that there's a 1/3 chance that your futures ticket is dead this round. Even as much as we like Milwaukee and think they're better, they're down 2-1. We have to take that seriously. The Heat have been playing well, so I would not bet a Milwaukee futures right now. The price the books are offering is not adjusting enough for the chance that Milwaukee could just go out.
AC, what do you think?
Yeah, my analysis on this, I've actually been cashing on this series with the overs. I think Brook Lopez for the longest time has been a fraudulent defensive player of the year candidate. He's not a bad player, but without Giannis, their defense is a shell of what they can be and potentially should be. In their first 3 games, the Heat have hit 15, 16, and 16 3-pointers. So without Giannis, I've been playing overs. I think it's a contrarian mindset because you think, oh, the superstar is out. There's going to be less scoring, but not with the Bucks. With that amazing player in Giannis, he does so much defensively for that team that they don't even want to play in the half court. They're running out of made baskets. They're playing in transition. They're shooting a ton of threes. And so I think the Bucks are going to keep the pace up if Giannis is not 100%. So look for instances, for example, in-game betting tonight. Sorry, people are not going to hear this until the day after, but when you watch Bucks games, I would bet overs if you see that Giannis is not going to be 100% or he's going to rest more than he normally does. That's been my angle so far in this series. I don't think it's because, Hero goes out game 1, Giannis goes out game 1, and you think the scoring is going to dip, but the scoring has actually raised up because of the pace of play. So if Giannis, again, is not 100%, I would look towards the over in those games. But I agree with Brandon. I think this is most likely a Milwaukee Bucks series. You said 66% is pretty good there, especially with Miami superstar Jimmy Butler out. We'll get into him a little bit later, but he's been phenomenal so far in the first 4 games. And without him, it could be a bigger loss than Giannis in Milwaukee.
Caleb Martin. That's my contribution. Caleb Martin. Who has the best plus minus in the NBA playoffs per game? Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin averaging 14 points and 5 boards per game. To AC's point, one reason I'm concerned for Milwaukee, the Heat are back to what they were doing in 2020, which is just punishing the hell out of the drop coverage. They went away from it. They couldn't figure it out in 2021 when the Bucks destroyed them. They are back to really figuring it out. I don't think Giannis makes that big of a difference. A lot of this is just like you put Drew into a pick and roll, you get a good screen to clear him, and you attack Brook Lopez going downhill. And you're going to generate open threes a lot of the time or pull-up jumpers, which the Heat are, by the way, shooting the absolute leather off the ball. They are shooting incredibly well, like way beyond expectation. They are probably going to cool off. Until I see that, I'm going to be betting Caleb Martin points and rebounds overs because he's probably going to have to play, especially with Jimmy's injury situation. Sixers wrapped up their series, so we're not going to talk about them. There's nothing to add here. I'll just say that I am not impressed with the Sixers sweeping. I'm not impressed. They did exactly what they met expectation without, and you can be like, well, they didn't have Joel. The Nets didn't have a team. Like, that's not a team. That's a bunch of guys that are just there for a little while before a lot of them get traded this summer. Nothing there. If you want to read more about the Knicks, check out the Action Network app. Let's go to the Memphis Lakers. Go to the Western Conference. So Lakers dominate game 3 in an impressive fashion. Dylan Brooks looks like an absolute clown. Doesn't speak to media after the game. Not going to be suspended. Gets ejected for hitting LeBron in the LeBronies. So look, I said this on the Monday Best Bets episode that I lean Memphis in this game that's going to be played tonight. If they lose, which is entirely possible with where Memphis is at health-wise and all the things kind of cascading down on them, I still think they probably win game 5. I think they come back and push this back to LA in 6. But Brandon, we like the Lakers in the series. I still like the Lakers in the series. I think most of the value is gone. Wait for the Grizzlies to win another game, and then I would come back in. If this gets to 2-2, I'm going to fire again on the Lakers.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot to add. I think that we've basically seen the series that we expected so far for the most part. And I know that's kind of weird to say when Ja missed a game in there, but it felt like that game was just like a Lakers letdown. We got one of these 2 road games, classic spot there. I thought I bet against it. So I can only say classic spot that I was wrong. I thought that LeBron would smell blood in the water and they just go for the kill and get this done with. They didn't, but I think that's what we saw in game 2. Otherwise, games 1 and 3, we've seen the Lakers team that we thought was just the wrong matchup for them. I do like Xavier Tillman. He's playing very well, obviously, for Memphis. I like Xavier Tillman overs right now. His minutes are really going up. He's gone from 22 minutes in game 1 to 32 game 2, 39 in game 3. And we've seen Santi Aldama, the other big, basically just erased 24 down to 14 and 11. So I think Xavier Tillman overs, mostly rebounding, because that's the safest thing he's going to contribute while he's out there. That's an angle game by game that I'm playing. Lakers catch a break with Dylan Brooks not suspended, so that helps for game 4 for Los Angeles. Yeah, I to me, I don't have a lot more in the series. My question is this: it feels like the Lakers are winning the series. Across the bracket, 2-2 is Sacramento and Golden State. So that half of the bracket, we've been talking for months now. That's the spot you want to bet futures on. If you are betting on the Lakers, if you already have your Lakers ticket, or if you're thinking about betting on them, or if you're the Lakers, are you rooting for the Kings or the Warriors in that next matchup? I don't know if I know what my answer is, but Matt, if you have a Lakers ticket, and I think both of us do, we've talked about this. If we got Lakers ticket past this round, who do you want? Do you want the Kings or do you want the Warriors?
Kings. Anthony Davis will shoot 100 free throws a game. Like, they don't have they have Alex Len. That's like you're gonna put Sabonis on AD. You're gonna put Harrison Barnes on AD. They don't have the bodies. They just don't have the bodies to be able to. And like, if you let the Lakers score, and the Grizzlies are seeing this, right? When the Lakers are able to get 20 points out of Rui Hachimura, they're cooking these guys. Like, they have enough weapons there to be able to do it. The guards will have a better time in that series with Dennis Schroeder and D'Angelo Russell. They'll have a much better time in that series than they will in this one versus Memphis. That's a much, much easier matchup for them, even with how good Fox is in terms of like steals and stuff. Like, they just don't have the defense. I will love the Lakers in a matchup versus the Kings. And that's not that I don't like the Kings. It's like, there's a lot of history there that tends to bear out. Yes. AC, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, between the two teams, I think the Kings are the better team, Kings and the Warriors. But if I were the Lakers, I would rather see the Kings because, again, we can't really handicap mindset or mentality. But I think if the Kings win the first round, I think they've already had a successful year. You're going to see a potential letdown there in round 2, whereas if the Lakers see Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson after a round 1 win, they're thinking about a possible finals run, right? So I think it's a different mindset there depending on the opponent. I think pure talent-wise, I like the Kings more, but from a mentality letdown potentially spot, I would rather see the Kings.
AC, do you have any thoughts on Memphis Lakers as far as like a series play beyond?
Yeah, we had a reaction pod last week, right? When the Lakers won game 1 in Memphis. And I thought, okay, this is a great potential to handicap. Maybe it's going to be a short series because I think LeBron has a history of seeing the possible opponent on the other side. And we all expect the Kings and the Warriors to potentially go to a game 7 if they both, take care of home court. So the King is really going to really go after it, I think, in my opinion, in these next 2 games to just finish it out. So I still think it's going to end in 5 personally. I don't think Memphis going back home 3-1 potentially would be a nice motivation spot for them because I think at that point they're going to think the series is over themselves. There's just too much drama now with Dylan Brooks. I don't like to bet on a team with just not like there's not identity with this team as it was last year. And the only reason why game 3 was so close was Ja Morant went off for 22 straight points, right? You don't expect that type of performance. Again, that's like a once in a career type thing. So unless Ja Morant can do it twice in a span of half a week, I think this is going to be a 5-game series.
Real quick, Denver, Minnesota. If Minnesota wins game 5, we will talk more about that series. I don't have a lot. Like, it's 3-1. The Denver Nuggets have dominated. They almost won game 4. We did best bets for that series, so you can go ahead and check that out in the feed. Same thing, honestly, with Phoenix Clippers. Brandon's got a best bet on the Clippers in that series. You can get great analysis in that episode for time constraints, and as well as, like, I have a good feeling we're going to be talking a lot about Suns and Nuggets in the very near future. So we're going to go ahead and put them to the side, and we'll return to them when the time is right to look at futures plays, etc. Unless, Brandon, you have anything that you need to get out right now. Okay.
No.
Then let's go to the final series, which is the most fun series in the playoffs. Warriors Kings. The Warriors took a timeout when they didn't have any. And Brandon, your guy, who understandably is the best offensive player of the last 30 years, but like, Steph's had some moments in this series, like the push shot that he missed in game 1 or game 2, and then the turnover off the timeout, and just like the rush shot yesterday, which gave the Kings an opportunity for a wide open Harrison Barnes 3. Like, it's the Warriors' late game execution has been worrisome. What's your feeling on Kings Warriors as we go into a 3-game series now with it tied 2-2 heading back to Sac?
Brandon, before you get into that analysis, why do they have an extra day? Why are they not playing on Tuesday? And why are they playing on Wednesday? The flight is 35 minutes between San Francisco and Sacramento.
So this is how this goes. There's 2 explanations. One is that the LA Kings are in the playoffs, and so the NBA has to accommodate both the Clippers and the Lakers and the LA Kings all in crypto. And so that required for them to play the Lakers and stretch that series out. And if one series gets a couple of days in between, then the other series, if it goes long enough, gets those days on the back end. The other side of this is, like, the TV wanted the Lakers. They want the Lakers. And so, like, this is programming plays a big part of this, of the various networks being like, we want that series on this night because that's when we're programming this. And so that's where a lot of this comes in. But yeah, there's not good, like, none of this has good reasons. There's not good reasons for any of this.
Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
Brandon, hit me.
Yeah, man, you know how I am with thinking about legacy and like pre-telling the narrative and all that. That was a heart-stopping, like, final 30 minutes of 1 minute of Warriors action, and I think my blood pressure still hasn't gone down yet. I mean, all I could think of was the Chris Paul game from maybe almost a decade ago, and Chris Paul just like completely melted down, and it's a thing that has forever stamped his career. We were right there, guys, right there on this is it. The end of the Warriors dynasty came on Steph Paul calling the Chris Webber, the Paul Westphal timeout, and they melted down. Agreed. The timeout was terrible. That's on him. Draymond tried to take credit for that on the podcast. He says he usually reminds them. No, that's on coaching. Coaches have to tell you we're out of timeouts. Don't call any more timeouts. And that's on coaching for putting you on the spot. What was that challenge with like 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on the moving screen? Terrible at the time. There's a weird timeout like a minute before that, before the user to lose it 3-minute thing.
Did you just throw yourself in front of Steph to protect him by blaming Steve?
He did.
No, it's all of it. That's the whole thing. We were a Harrison Barnes shot away from the Harrison Barnes full circle revenge on them ejecting him from the dynasty to end the dynasty. Draymond suspension and then off the bench. That's it for him. Get him out of here. End of the dynasty, end of the core. Steph melted down. Like, all of those things, Steve Kerr, everything is all getting tacked onto the legacy. It was like the final note to it. And now it's just going to disappear in the next few days because the Warriors won and none of it matters. And my heart is still racing from all of it. And sure, maybe I threw myself in front of the Steph train. I'm going to throw myself on the Draymond train too. To play like that, after you willingly came off the bench, after all that they've gone through, to give your starting spot to Jordan Poole, of all people, a little history between Draymond and Poole, to recognize the single big lineup versus the double big lineup, which I think, by the way, didn't work. I think they're going to go back to Draymond probably for the next game, but it did work the previous game. I just thought Draymond, to take that leadership was huge. And then to play like that, he was really aggressive. I think Draymond points over, as ugly as it is, might be a thing because he is really attacking. And that's when he gets that mindset, he's going to stick with it. It was 3 of 14. This is a game where like, I thought Draymond was great. And then I'm the Vorps and Schwartz guy. And I promise you're not going to find any advanced metric that says anything other than Draymond was absolute dog crap. Like every number is going to say he was terrible because he was 3 of 14 and he had turnovers and all that.
Except +8.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't call plus minus an advanced metric, but yeah, I mean, they were good when he was on. He was brilliant defensively down the stretch. He had a strip, he had a block. He even on the final play, just getting all the stuff. The meltdown was there, but before that, and in the final seconds, just to do enough. The championship medal, the thing that we've said all year, like, oh, it's the Warriors, we have to give them credit. It finally showed up. And I know it all melted away for that like 30 seconds of insanity. But before that, the Kings, how many rush shots did they have down the stretch? Whereas like they got a chance, they ran down, they missed a layup on like a 1-on-3, and the Warriors got the rebound and got it right back. There was the play before all this where I think it was Monk rushed a shot on a layup, and Kerr is like waving his guys forward. They had Clay wide open in the corner for a 3 that ends the game. And Malik Monk made like the defensive back play of his life and intercepts the pass and throws it down to Davion Mitchell for a wide open layup. That's like a 5-point swing as well. So just phenomenal game. I don't know if there's any real analysis takeaway from all that, but I had to say it all. That said, we're 2-2. The Warriors just had to empty the tank to get back to a tie series. And I don't think that this is over by any stretch yet. And I think that the value for the series is on the Kings. I think that the best value futures series bet you can make right now is Kings in 7 plus 280. I ran the numbers before, like the who wins in 6 and 7, all of that. I'm not going to go through all the percentages, but Kings in 7 plus 280 at our sponsor FanDuel. That is a 26% implied. I have Kings in 7 at about 34%. We know how important it is to be the home team in game 7. The Kings have 2 home games here. I just think that there's value there. I've been talking a lot, so I want to go to Albert, but I have a little more to say. But Albert, what do you think about the series first?
Yes, I'll do a quick soliloquy on Steph Curry, right? So if you look at his career, especially in the postseason, he's actually had several moments of mishaps down the stretch in the clutch. But because he's the greatest shooter of all time, and I fully admit that, his margin of error is just so much larger than everyone else. Like if you have a Chris Paul, you mentioned him earlier in the podcast, if he makes a really bad turnover, he doesn't have the ability to shoot a 35-footer in your face for a 3-point play, right? That really negates errors. And so I think Steph Curry with, behind the back passes against the Cavs one year with that turnover, timeouts here, Klay Thompson turnovers, things like that. The reason why they can get through it is because of their amazing shooting ability. I don't know if it's championship medal, but it's just their pure talent, right? They're just once in a lifetime shooters. With that being said, for this series particularly, being a guy from Dallas, it has a lot of similarities when Dirk Nowitzki got punked by the Warriors in 2007. He wasn't ready for the physicality. He wasn't ready for all the physical play. There's less fouls being called. And I'm really zeroing in on Sabonis. I thought Sabonis was going to have a monster series. Matt mentioned this, that he has a really terrible plus minus when he plays the Warriors. I thought he was going to be able to get through that. That was a regular season stat. I thought he was going to play well in the postseason, but he just hasn't been the same player. So really props to guys like Malik Monk, Davion Mitchell, and De'Aaron Fox in making this a 2-2 series. But I still like my Kings. I say my Kings just because they're not the Warriors. But I still like the Kings. I still think that they have 2 games at home. We know the Warriors splits home and away. I'm still going to back the team with 2 home games. And honestly, what would be crazy here, and it wouldn't be that surprising, is the Warriors go on the road, win a game 5, and then the Kings go on a road and win a game 6. Like that's how crazy this series has been, because it's been high level basketball, very physical. And I just don't want the series to end, I guess.
Yeah, cancel the rest of the first round. Just play like best of 50 with these guys. Just ditch the rest of the podcast, ditch all the other teams, and just give me more Kings Warriors games.
Brandon, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, Sabonis, I agree. I think Sabonis has been like hipster Julius Randle on this series. I think he's been totally exposed and got punked physically down the stretch. I think if you're looking at like series prices and how do we play it, usually at this point 2-2, and usually historically game 7 home team is the most likely outcome that we have left on the board, right? Usually like I think 80% of the home team wins there. I think given what these two teams are and given the way this has looked at Golden State, I think the most likely outcome on the board is the Warriors winning game 6 at home, the one remaining home game. So because of that, I think that can shape how you see the series and how you play it. Albert, you said, okay, what if the Warriors go on the road, but then the Kings win back on the road? That's possible. It's certainly possible the ways you've gone. I think if the Kings lose 3 in a row and lose that home advantage on top of it, and now you're going on the road to face the title team at Golden State, I'm not going to say they're dead, but I think that is not the spot. I think the Kings are in a must-win spot or close to it for game 5. But I think because of the spot where the Kings have to win here, but the Warriors very likely win game 6. And then with the Warriors experience game 7, I think closes the gap a lot more. And honestly, the home court advantage not being necessarily as strong. So that's why I think you isolate Kings in 7 rather than just Kings to win the series, if you like it, because I don't think it's likely that are the Kings going to go win game 5 and then win a closeout game at Chase? I don't know. I mean, look, the Warriors threw everything yesterday. They threw every punch. They had the third quarter avalanche and everything. And then the Kings opened the fourth quarter on a 7-0 run. And we're like, yeah, we're here. We're fine. We're going to win the game anyway. So maybe they can just do this. But this was a series coming in. I didn't make a pick on the series when we did our series previews, Matt. I did Warriors to lead 2-1, which was my only pick. And that one was wrong. So that didn't go well for me. I just something all the way this series has felt like it was going to be like a classic with some weird results coming. I think that the Warriors still think that they're going to win here, and the Kings still are live. I think Kings in 7 plus 280 is a bet worth making.
I bet Warriors Celtics finals matchup after game 4. I think that they are, because one of the things is I had said that you can't bet Warriors futures because Steph's having to play 45 minutes every game. So is Kevin Durant. So is Devin Booker.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. Like Sixers, Celtics, Embiid will be back at some point. That's going to be a brutal series. Giannis is already banged up. Window's there. So
one final point on this series, and we only get this about, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in the last decade, but we potentially might get a game 6 Clay, right? If the Warriors come back home down 2-3, we might see another, amazing performance by Klay Thompson, another teammate that carries Steph Curry. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Wow.
All right. We'll be back later in the week. We'll get you set for the second round series if they're done and ready to go. We'll have best bets for you throughout the week. Make sure to follow AC on Twitter at AnalyticsCapper. Follow Brandon on Twitter at Wheaton Brando. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.